Close your eyes for a second. If I asked you to name the most dangerous predator in the ocean, what would you say? For most people, the answer is easy: the great white shark. It's the animal that's been in our nightmares for decades. Movies turned it into a monster, news headlines made us fear it, and almost every time someone thinks about swimming in the ocean, that's the first thing that comes to mind, is a shark. But here's the crazy part: the great white shark isn't actually the king of the ocean. In fact, there's another predator so powerful that when it enters an area, great white sharks don't stay and fight. They leave. Scientists have watched sharks disappear from an entire coastline after only a single visit from this animal. Imagine spending your entire life at the top of the food chain, only to realize you're not actually at the top. Because there's one hunter smarter than sharks, more coordinated than sharks, and somehow even more terrifying. Today, we're uncovering the true ruler of the ocean. The predator that hunts animals bigger than itself, works together like a military squad, and has almost no natural enemies. This is the story of the killer whale. Let's be honest, sharks deserve respect. They've been swimming through Earth's oceans for over 400 million years. That's older than dinosaurs. Long before humans ever existed, sharks were already perfect hunters. Their bodies are built for one purpose: finding prey. They can detect a single drop of blood in an unbelievable amount of water. They can sense tiny electrical signals given off by living animals. Even if something is buried beneath the sand, a shark can still find it. It's honestly one of the most impressive predators evolution has ever created. And because of that, people assume nothing can challenge them. If you ever watched documentaries, played video games, or even seen movies like Jaws, you've probably been taught that sharks rule the ocean. But nature doesn't really care what humans believe, because while we're busy watching sharks, something else quietly climbed to the very top of the food chain. And unlike sharks, this predator doesn't rely on fear, it relies on intelligence. At first glance, an orca doesn't even look scary. They're beautiful, black and white, almost peaceful. And if you've ever been to SeaWorld, you've probably seen one splash the crowd, jump through the air, or interact with trainers. It's hard to imagine an animal like that could completely dominate one of the ocean's most feared predators. But appearances can be incredibly misleading, because beneath that familiar black and white pattern is one of the smartest hunters on Earth. Orcas aren't actually whales. They're the largest members of the dolphin family, which means everything people know about dolphins: communication, learning, problem solving, working together, the orca does, on an entirely different level. And that's exactly what makes them so dangerous, because muscles can make you powerful, but intelligence changes everything. If you were dropped into the middle of the Pacific Ocean and looked around, you probably wouldn't notice them at first. No splashing, no chaos, just silence. That's one of the reasons orcas are so effective. They don't need to charge into every hunt. They wait, they watch, and then they strike. Unlike sharks, orcas don't spend their lives hunting alone. They live in families called pods. Some pods stay together for their entire lives. Think about that for a second. Imagine hunting with the exact same teammates every single day. For decades, every success, every mistake, every lesson gets passed down from one generation to the next. That means every new calf isn't starting from scratch. It's learning thousands of successful hunting strategies that have already worked. And that's something almost no other predator can match. They don't just hunt, they plan. Scientists have watched pods communicate before a hunt even begins. The clicks, whistles, calls, every sound has a purpose. Every movement means something. Then, almost like flipping a switch, everyone knows exactly what to do. Some swim underneath, others block escape routes. One waits for the perfect moment. It's less like watching wild animals and more like watching a professional sports team execute a play they've practiced 1,000 times. That's exactly what makes them terrifying. Not because they're the biggest, not because they're the fastest, because they're smart enough to make almost every hunt unfair. For years, scientists believed sharks had nothing to fear. Then, they noticed something strange. Entire populations of great white sharks were disappearing, not dying, not being caught, simply leaving. Researchers tracked sharks using satellite tags. Everything looked normal, then killer whales arrived. Within hours, the sharks were gone. Some swam more than 100 miles away. Others disappeared for weeks. Imagine being an apex predator and fleeing, without even fighting. That tells you everything you need to know. Why are sharks so scared of the orca whale? Well, because sharks know something we didn't. An orca isn't just another animal, it's a very big problem. One bite from a shark can end a fight. One mistake against an orca usually ends your life. Then, researchers witnessed something they'd never seen before. A great white shark floated to the surface, dead. There weren't dozens of bite marks, there wasn't a missing fin, there was only one precise injury. Its liver was gone. Nothing else had been touched. Scientists really couldn't believe it. Out of the shark's entire body, the orcas had removed only the most nutritious, rich organ. That wasn't random, that wasn't luck, that was experience. The more researchers studied these attacks, the more incredible they became. The killer whale knew exactly where the liver was and exactly how to get it. No wasted effort, no unnecessary energy, just one clean attack, and the highest calorie meal in the shark's body. It's almost impossible not to be impressed. But this is only the beginning. If you think hunting great white sharks is impressive, wait until you see what the killer whale does to seals. Because what happens next almost looks impossible. Picture this, you're a seal, you've escaped after swimming for what feels like forever, you finally reach a small piece of floating ice. Nothing can reach you, or at least that's what you think. Beneath the surface, an entire pod of killer whales is watching. They aren't attacking, they aren't rushing, they're studying, waiting, then without making a sound, the whales spread out. Every single one moves into position. Not because someone told them to, because they've done this 100 of times before. And then they do something almost impossible. Instead of attacking the seal, they attack the ocean itself. Several killer whales accelerate together, slamming into the water at exactly the same moment. The force creates a massive wave. That wave races toward the ice, and then the seal braces itself. But there's nothing it can do. The entire sheet of ice flips over, launching the seal back into the freezing water within seconds. The hunt is over. Scientists call this wave washing. And here's what makes it even more incredible. Young orcas don't automatically know how to do it. They have to learn. Researchers have watched adult females deliberately repeat the maneuver over and over, almost like a parent teaching a child how to ride a bike. Think about that. They're not just hunters, they're teachers. Every generation becomes smarter than the other before it. And that's one of the biggest reasons killer whales have stayed at the top of the food chain. But flipping seals off ice isn't even their most terrifying hunting strategy, because next, we're going to look at how killer whales hunt animals that weigh more than 50 tons. At this point, you might be thinking, sure, orcas can hunt seals and sharks, but there has to be a limit. Well, there is, it's just a lot bigger than you probably think. Because killer whales don't just hunt animals their own size. Sometimes they hunt whales, not dolphins, not seals, but whales. Imagine swimming through the ocean weighing over 100,000 pounds. You've survived storms, crossed entire oceans, and almost nothing alive could even dream of challenging you. Except a pod of killer whales. One orca couldn't do it, even two probably couldn't. But that's not how they hunt. They work together. One pod will chase the whale for miles, not because they're trying to catch it immediately, they're trying to wear it down. Every breath becomes harder. Every minute burns more energy. Then, once the whale starts slowing, the real attack begins. Some orcas move in front, forcing the whale to change direction. Others stay behind, waiting for any signs of weakness. And then, they begin separating the calf from its mother. Because if they can isolate just one whale, the hunt becomes much easier. Scientists have documented hunts lasting hours, sometimes even longer. Not because killer whales are stronger, but because they're smarter and unbelievably patient. Here's something most people probably don't know. Not every killer whale hunts the same way. Different pods have different cultures. Like seriously, some specialize in fish, others hunt sharks, some hunt seals, and others hunt whales. It's almost like different countries having different traditions. Researchers have even recorded hunting techniques that exist in one population, but nowhere else on Earth. That means these skills aren't instinct, they're taught, passed from generation to generation. Just like humans teach their children. And once you realize that, you start looking at a killer whale in a completely different way. They're not just reacting, they're thinking, planning, adapting, learning. Every successful hunt makes the next one easier. And here's what I find the craziest. When killer whales begin a hunt, they almost never panic. Watch enough footage and you'll notice something. They're calm, no frantic movements, no wasted energy. It's almost like they already know how the story ends because most of the time they do. But if killer whales are intelligent enough to hunt sharks, seals, and even whales, then one question remains. Does anything in the ocean actually hunt them? After everything we've seen, the sharks, the seals, even whales, there's one question that still hasn't been answered. If killer whales hunt almost everything, then what hunts them? The answer is surprisingly simple. Almost nothing. A healthy adult orca has no known natural predators. Think about that. The ocean is home to creatures weighing more than 150 tons, animals with mouths big enough to swallow cars, and predators that have ruled these waters for millions of years. Yet somehow, the killer whale sits at the very top. Not because it's the biggest, not because it's the fastest, but because it combines something almost no other animal has: power, intelligence, and teamwork. When those three things come together, very few animals stand a chance. People often ask, what animal would win? A great white shark? A crocodile? A giant squid? But nature doesn't really work like that. The real question isn't who wins one fight, it's who controls the ocean. And time after time, the answer keeps pointing back to the same animal. Researchers have watched great white sharks abandon an entire hunting ground after orcas arrived. Not because they were attacked every time, not because they knew the risk wasn't worth it. Imagine being one of the ocean's most feared predators and choosing to leave before the fight even starts. That tells you everything you need to know. What's fascinating is that the same animal capable of hunting sharks is also incredibly social. Mothers spend years raising their calves. Families stay together for decades. Older females help guide the entire pod. Young orcas spend years learning how to survive. It's one of the closest family structures in the animal kingdom. In many ways, their intelligence is exactly what makes them such successful predators. They're not driven only by instinct. They learn, they remember, they teach, and generation after generation, they become even better hunters. So, what's the most dangerous predator in the ocean? Is it the animal with the biggest teeth, the strongest bite, the fastest attack, or is it the one smart enough to outthink everything else? Because after looking at the evidence, the answer becomes pretty clear. The killer whale isn't just another predator, it's the ocean's apex strategist. It hunts some of the most dangerous animals on Earth. It teaches young, it develops new hunting techniques, and it has earned the respect of every creature that shares its water, including the great white shark. The next time someone tells you the shark is the king of the ocean, remember this: when the killer whale arrives, even the king leaves. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more documentaries like this, make sure to subscribe, and if there's another animal or mystery you think deserves a deep dive, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.